You can go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We've got people all over the place today, and we're waiting for Jack and Jesse to come in. They're going to be 10 minutes late. So in the meantime, we'll start, and Claire will do her regional growth strategy presentation. But so I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we would like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Lillooet Nation. I have an approval of the agenda, please.
I'll move.
Moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. And the regional moment we will put off till Jack arrives. So we will go to
Oh, there's Jack.
there's Jack and Jesse are here now, so that's good. How long will it take you to get set up for your regional moment?
Set up.
You're ready to go?
Yeah.
Perfect. So Jack is here and he's ready to go. With regional moment, so we'll go with that.
No introduction
Perfect.
required.
So Jack is here and he's ready to go. With regional moment, so we'll go with that.
The object of the exercise this morning is for you to explain to me
No
what's
introduction
going to happen there. I know there were two companies going
Not
for it,
working.
one called Fortress, which is half owned by the federal government and the Aspen Ski Corporation,
Right,
the world's biggest developers of ski resorts, is that right?
of ski lifts and the
Ski
operators
lifts.
of ski lifts.
And then there's another outfit from Calgary which had local participation called Blackcomb.
Yes.
Now, why there was a fight between these two bodies? Who got the contract?
Fortress won the bid, and the bid was put out by the government saying we would like you to suggest to us what you could do, how you would develop it, and the timing, and where the financing would come from, and assure us that you're capable of developing an exciting destination mountain at Whistler. And the Fortress bid was a stronger bid, and the government chose to award the...
You had me say at the beginning, are the Americans taking over Whistler?
No, certainly I don't think they're taking over. The hardest part of getting a resort going, a winter resort going, is to get the money into the ski lifts, because that's where the capital-intensive upfront money is needed. Certainly the major money, the major development at Whistler will be in the village. It will be the hotels, the facilities that cater to the people who come to ski, the people who come to play golf and swim in the summertime.
Anyway, this, what do we call the company that's going to do the development?
Fortress Mountain.
Fortress is half federal government money in that company.
Yes.
And half Aspen Ski Corporation.
Yes, and now I should point out, Jack, that they had an opportunity to come in totally the Aspen Skiing Corporation. They said to us, we have a company, we are partners with the Federal Business Development Bank, we helped them out of a bankrupt situation in Alberta. We could probably continue with that vehicle if that's desirable to the government of British Columbia. We said, we believe it's a good opportunity at Blackcomb. Why don't you come with your partner, the Federal Business Development Bank?
Okay, they've got the deal. How much money is being put in by the provincial government? And is it being put into their operation or separate things?
Separate things. There is a federal provincial tourist incentive agreement, and we made it very clear that no funds will go into the operation of ski lifts. The funds that will go into the development of Whistler, the federal provincial funds, are addressed at the facilities that will complement hotels, restaurants, the base development, the tourist development. And certainly the ski lift operators, both Garibaldi Lifts and Fortress Mountain, will not receive subsidies or grants to develop ski lifts.
Garibaldi lifts are the people who are there now?
Yes.
Is that right, Nancy? Where do they run the lifts, Garibaldi?
They have the lifts on Whistler.
They have the lifts on Whistler.
Right. And they'll be expanding Whistler, too.
Will the Fortress ones, where will their lifts go?
Then the mountain right beside Whistler on Blackcomb Mountain.
Blackcomb. Let's see it. Tell me what's on the screen.
Sure.
Tell me what's coming up. What's that?
That's a scene from Whistler showing some of the panoramas that are in the Whistler area.
Next. What comes next? What's that?
That's the upper part of Whistler Mountain, and this is on the Olympic side of Whistler. This is an Olympic ski run. It's a run that comes out to the proposed town center, and you can see the development on this side of the mountain really features a gentle skiing for the intermediate skier.
We're not at Blackcomb Mountain yet.
No. This is Blackcomb Mountain. You can see there are no ski trails cut there now, and over the next 2 years, Fortress will develop ski lifts and trails on this mountain.
They'll do that at their own expense?
Yes.
What's that?
This is the proposed town center site, looking from Whistler You can see it was at one time a gravel pit. At one time it was even a garbage dump by the municipality. They're now cleaning up that site, and the town center will be built there.
That's a new town centre.
Yes. At Whistler this time,
What's that?
there are predominantly chalets and private homes at Whistler, and there are very few hotel beds. And certainly the key is to develop the tourist side of it, build the beds and offer the facilities.
What's that one?
This is an artist's conception of the proposed town center, and it's proposed to be a pedestrian village.
Looks not unlike Vale or Aspen.
Actually, much more like Vale than Aspen.
Yeah. Okay.
Here you have a main street scene where people would walk up and down the street, the cars would be parked peripherally, and people would walk through the town to the ski lifts.
Are these the concepts from Fortress FubDub?
No, these are developed by the Resort Municipality of Whistler. The town center is a project owned entirely by the Resort Municipality of Whistler.
Okay, is that a lot? No.
I think an important aspect of it is that Whistler must work as a four-season resort. The key
What's that?
This is the golf course. It's presently a par 3 9-hole golf course, which will be expanded to the town center as a proper 18-hole golf course. And some of the federal provincial money will be used to expand a quality golf facility. There's Alta Lake. Sailing on Alta Lake, and certainly the summer recreation in the area is really an attractive part of attracting private capital.
And that?
That's the roundhouse at Whistler, the top of the mountain, and certainly all the skiers in Vancouver recognize
something?
it.
I've never, ever been up there. Never have.
Shame on you.
Remember you were going to take me up once?
I know.
You didn't take me?
Jack, you'll have to go up there, and it's too bad you didn't go up 3 or 4 years ago, and then you could see how it's changing. Even over this summer, there's a tremendous amount of construction. Hotels that are there now are expanding, and you can just sense the impetus is changing, and people really feel positively about what's happening.
It's not so long ago since hotels were going broke up there, is it?
Right.
Well, it's still a difficult proposition because winter only is difficult.
Okay, let me get the general concept. There's going to be a new town site which is going to largely be developed by the federal provincial funds.
The facilities, but it will be largely developed by the private sector. The municipality are putting out the land parcels to the private sector to build the hotels and the thing. The federal provincial funds are going to go into facilities like skating rink, swimming pool.
The community facilities.
Exactly.
How much of them? How much of them?
There'll be about $4 million into.
I know how much of my tax money is going to go into.
Total of $9 million.
And I'm not going to subsidize anything from Fortress, FubDub, or any of the private developers.
Or the
up there.
hotel builders or the restaurant builders.
As a matter of fact, Jack, the way I like to think of it is that we as taxpayers will own 50% of the lift company that develops Blackcomb, and so as there is a profit, we will be receiving 50% of that.
One of the world's great skiers. Do you really think this is capable of a grandiose development like this and attracting people from all over the world when some winters, I remember one winter you didn't have enough snow.
Well, that's why it's so important to build all the other facilities, so there are a lot of things to do. And I think, Jack, I've believed for a long time that we've got the mountains and the snow in British Columbia, but we just haven't had a place for people to come. And we're so used to going out of the country on our holidays. We go to Hawaii, we go to Colorado.
We go down to Mount Baker.
We go even to Mount Baker. That's just sort of weekend things. And when people go on a holiday, they like to live a little differently from when they're just doing the weekend trips. And we've never had a place where we could say, hey, come to us. And that's
Is
what
there
we're doing.
no first-class, world-style ski resort outside of, where, Banff?
Banff is
even
fine, but
marginal.
Whistler's got...
Is Banff first-class, world-style ski resort?
It's
No.
not competitive to what the
Okay, we're
facilities
going to
are.
talk about Whistler, and we're going to take phone calls too. Nancy and Al.
Okay.
Not that Clara.
Yes, I'm representing this.
What did he say about Nancy again? Who are you? Just some housewife?
At the end, if you watch the whole thing, at the end, he says some offensive things to Nancy about being a housewife that just was there to make the whole thing look good. Which I was like, I'm talking to Senator Nancy Green, like this is like, he's an interesting guy, Jack Webster. But I spent the summer backpacking through Washington State, and I walked along the ridges past White Pass, Crystal Mountain ski area, Snoqualmie Pass, and Stevens Pass. And as I was walking past those places, it struck me that none of them are sort of welcoming visitors from around the world, and all of them are about 45 minutes away from Seattle. So they're 45 minutes away from, you know, millions of people. And that kind of sort of forward-looking insight has never sort of been applied there. And it made me think how special it is that people before us decided that this was worthy of chasing down and investing in. And Al, I get to spend a lot of time with, and I'm sure a lot of you get to spend a lot of time with him through UBCM and other paths. He was on the first city council in Whistler, and he was a real visionary around this. He was the provincial representative on council, so they got to appoint someone who would sit on council from the province. And as he sort of speaks and answers those questions, it really feels to me like he's sort of speaking it into existence, you know, like, really, will people come on, are people gonna come from around the world to visit Whistler? And the answer is, yeah, absolutely. But it took people like Al and Nancy and many others to sort of dream big dreams to realize this real economic engine, which is, I think, why they took it on when they did. They saw it as an investment in British Columbia's economy, and they, I think, saw the future in a lot of ways. About 2 months ago, we had Premier Eby in town and announced a $12.7 million investment and $22 million in lending from the province on a new BC Builds building, so an apartment building for workers. And as I was standing there, and as we were sort of saying our thank yous and that kind of thing, I told this sort of story about how our town has been, you know, taking trash and turning it into treasure for a very long time, and that this village was built on the garbage dump, and Checkins Crossing is being built on a garbage dump. And so today, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of those early pioneers in tourism in our community, and just sort of give you a reminder of how important the investments that we are making here today, the insights that the planning team are having about what we will do and the impacts it'll have on people's lives 50 years from now. I mean, that was
What
50
year was
years
that?
ago. 1979.
79?
Yeah, so
Wow.
and I also find Jack Webster so like hilarious. Like, he's such a, and the funny thing is, I remember as a kid watching him, that wasn't shocking to me. Like, that was Jack Webster. That was kind of who he was. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Now you watch it again, you're like, whoa, gee, what's this? What's that?
Yeah.
What is this? So, yeah.
He wouldn't survive in.
Not today. No. So, yeah, but yeah, I hope that gives you a little moment, look at Whistler.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, that was very good.
That was excellent.
Yeah. Oh, I should say,
Good night.
so the rest of that story is, I told this, probably took longer than I should have to indulge myself in speaking to the people that were assembled and doing the thank yous. And I started with, you know, I want to tell you about how Whistler's been turning trash into treasure for a very long time. And finally, so I give 5-10 minutes, finally I say at the very end, so I want to thank council, I want to thank this person, I want to thank that person, but most of all, I want to thank the province of British Columbia, Minister Callan, Premier Eby. Thank you for joining us in turning treasure into trash.
On live.
And then everyone's like,
I know.
I mean, trash into treasure.
Jack, I think that should be your next campaign slogan. Jack Crompton, trash into treasure.
So good.
Anyway, yeah, so
Very good.
turning treasure into trash.
That was a good moment, Jack. I enjoyed that.
Back in the day, we used to drive by that garbage dump and there'd be bears everywhere.
Yeah. My granddad.
Right off the highway.
Yeah, my granddad would take us there, in the summers at 4 p.m., sit there and watch the
Yeah,
garbage,
yeah.
different time.
That was like that was the side of Darcy.
Yeah,
That one.
Yeah.
And we'd always go there and slow down and see all the bears.
yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, thank you so much for that. No closed. No staff reports and other business. 5.1, CAO verbal update.
Everyone. First, committee of the whole, nothing to report.
Okay, very good. 5.2, information report. SLRD RGS review 2024, draft policy and indicator updates. Claire, it's all yours.
Good morning, my name is Claire Dewar. I'm a senior planner here at the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. I will give a brief overview of the information report pertaining to the SLRD RGS review 2024 draft policy and indicator updates, and then happy to take any questions and support the discussion of the committee today. So the purpose of the staff report is to present the SLRD RGS review 2024 draft policy and indicator updates to the SLRD board for review and input in advance of considering the amendment bylaw for first reading. Just some background, the SLRD is required to consider a review of the regional growth strategy in 2024 as per the Local Government Act. And the Local Government Act and the SLRD RGS include minor amendment criteria and process. The board resolved to initiate a review of the SLRD RGS to address policy updates to Goal 3, which is affordable housing, and Goal 11, which is climate action and related indicators. To proceed with the RGS review 2024 as a minor amendment and as per the minor amendment process outlined in the RGS, and also to provide written notice of initiation to affected local governments, which are member municipalities and adjacent regional districts. The SLRD board also requested that the draft policy and indicator updates be brought back to the committee of the whole meeting to review and provide input on the proposed revisions in language in advance of considering the amendment bylaws for first reading. So that is where we are today. And I just wanted to take a minute to speak to Goal 11, take action on climate change. From a staff's perspective, it felt like there was an opportunity to update the greenhouse gas targets to align with those established by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And this is as per a previous board resolution. And there's also felt like there was an opportunity to review the climate action strategic directions for possible revisions and amendments in advance of prioritization and incorporation into a climate action implementation strategy, which staff envision would happen following the RGS review. We did receive some input from member municipalities on this on climate action policy review as part of our scoping work in advance of coming to the board. And a lot of that input was really focused around regional transit, active transportation, regional electric vehicle network, climate equity, and youth. And skipping to just high level on the Goal 3, generate a range of quality affordable housing. From staff's perspective, there's an opportunity to add and revise strategic directions based on the outcomes of the Regional Affordable Housing Forum that took place in April of this year. And also that this process would then potentially lead to the prioritization and incorporation into regional affordable housing implementation strategy. Specifically with regards to the indicators that related to these policy updates, there's an opportunity to review the existing indicators for Goal 3 and Goal 11 and to consider potential newer revised indicators based on the updates. And that there's also an opportunity to align the indicators with the community energy and emissions inventory sector data that's now more readily available. Just speak briefly to next steps for the board's consideration. So the board did initiate the RGS review, including written notification to affected local governments. That's complete, and the deadline for response to that notification is the beginning of October. So then we will be receiving input from the SLRD board on the draft policy and indicator updates, which is the committee of the whole meeting here today. And then the next step would be to prepare the amendment bylaw for consideration of first reading, which would be tentatively for the November board. And I'll leave it there and happy to answer any questions and open it up for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from anybody? Lori?
Yeah, thanks. Good report. So one of the, like 11.1A says adopt targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% below 2010 levels. How close are we to that?
So through the chair, that's a good question. We will be undertaking indicator monitoring following the RGS review, which would be in 2025, and we would have a sense on where our emissions are at as a region as part of that indicator monitoring.
Okay.
That specific, those targets are aligned with the Intergovernmental Panel targets and sort of where we're at as a best practice in the region and what the board had previously recommended. Mm-hmm. And I will note that those targets are specific for the SLRD. The next 11.2 is intended to be broader to recognize that each of the member municipalities may have different targets or may be at a different place with regards to where their community is at on GHG emissions targets.
Right, because looking at the broad level, I mean, obviously Braylon, Goldbridge, and Lillooet, we are trying to achieve, reduced gas emissions, of course, but it's definitely harder for us than it may be because we don't have like regional transit options or those things at this time. So I would wonder if we should just, I'm curious if we should just adopt targets with a goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45%, but maybe that's a conversation now, or maybe it's a conversation for 2025 when we actually see where our levels are. But that would be something I would like to see added, is just the adopt targets with a goal of doing that and not being so clear in our levels of what we're going to do by 2030, because 2030 is not far off. So thank you.
Through the chair, just in response, I just want to highlight that the language that would be relevant for the member municipalities is to adopt regional context statements that identify how local land use, transportation, and solid waste policies contribute to meeting the regional greenhouse gas emissions reduction target of 45%. So it's through the regional context statements that the member municipalities communicate how they're contributing to that regional target, and that there's the regional target specific to 2030, but then I think really we're looking at that net zero for the 2050 as a region. And these are absolutely aspirational goals. And
absolutely. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, if the chair's all right, I don't have questions. I did have comments that I was hoping to make before I have to jump out, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, thanks. And just sort of picking up on the last point, I understand that these goals seem big, but they're also based on what science says is required for humanity to survive. So I think our job is to state, and everything in the RGS is a goal. We often don't hit things, and that's what the indicators are for. We look and see where we're short, and then we adjust. And so I think it's important to articulate where we need to be. And then we may not hit all those things, and then we'll learn to adjust as we go. And I think that's where the indicators have value. To that point, the world sort of as a whole is already sort of far behind where we're supposed to be according to those IPCC numbers. And so I think what I was hoping in the previous resolution was some language that mentions the best science, so that we would adopt the best science if the IPCC changes, because you can see it's difficult to change an RGS, and so Squamish and its OCP, I think, and I'd written it down. I can't find where I'd written it, but basically at the current IPCC levels or as the IPCC numbers change is what our target is. So it floats with it. So we don't have to go and update our RGS every time that IPCC gets better data. And so just sort of have it floating like that if we can. I think in the section around LNG, right now it just says consider LNG. I think with everything we know, and I would even consider taking out LNG, but just focus on high emissions industries. Maybe we want to call it fossil fuel, or maybe it's worthwhile mentioning LNG. And to be clear, this isn't about the current proposal because this wouldn't have any effect on that. But in terms of future decision making, I think we need to be really clear that we're not at a point where we can consider these things. These are just things that we can't be doing. And we need to be considering the impacts on local and global GHGs. I think right now it only talks about local. And in how we address this, I mentioned advocacy, environmental process, but we should add land use planning and permitting. And this comes with all of our decision making. And I think even things like sponsorship policy, these are all many ways we can address some of these sorts of things. And I would advocate for including some of those other things. I don't want to limit our tools to manage big polluters. I guess this really jumped out at me when I looked at the regular agenda. Whistler, in their RGS statement of concordance, talk about not relying on offsets and the problems with that. And so I would really de-emphasize any reliance on offsets in our RGS. And I was really glad to see that in the Whistler statement. So thanks, Whistler, if I missed that part of the meeting. And then finally, on the indicators, it talks about buildings in terms of industry, but I think we really need to talk about basically whole operations, and because that's what matters and that's what we have to count. And I know we're not necessarily going to have like exact precise measurements of all these. A lot of the times we're going to have to infer and use the best sort of tools and methodologies, and that's where we are, and so be it. But let's actually try and think about sort of total numbers. So those are things that I noticed. Otherwise, I thought it was great, and I really am excited about these updates. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Is there any other questions or comments? Jack?
I strongly agree with Director Petgill on the attachment to the moving IPCC targets. I think that's wise, and I think that's something I'd like to see. On the housing piece, I wonder, I guess my question, I was trying to figure out what my question was this morning, but is the intention of an OCP to be somewhat intentionally vague? Like you're not vague, it leaves room to build policy inside it. Is that fair? Does that make any sense?
Through the chair, this is for regional growth strategies, is that?
Yeah. What did I say? OCP?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Through the chair, I think part of the intention of the regional growth strategy and the strategic directions and goals within is to be broad enough that each of the member municipalities can connect and contribute in their own way, recognizing that we have rural and urban spaces, and how they engage with climate action or affordable housing may look quite different depending on the context. So the regional growth strategy is intentionally broad so that there are many ways to reach the goals, essentially.
Please strike vague and replace it with broad. Well done. That's perfect. It seems to me that inside our member municipalities and master planned communities, we are doing very different things than we're doing in rural areas, but we have similar statements in the RGS that apply broadly. And so, as we drill down, it's a goal of the RGS to move forward these affordable housing targets. And the where and the when and the how is part of the OCP context statements and then policy that we make at this table. Is that fair? Okay. I'm comfortable. I just wanted to ask those questions. Thank you.
One thing Chris had mentioned was offsets. So you, in yours, in Worcester, you're recommending that we don't accept offsets? Is that?
That we don't base our targets on, buying them down, yeah.
Yeah, I just, I totally agree with that. I've never figured out how you can sort of do the wrong thing, but if you spend a bunch of money and buy offsets, it all balances. It makes you feel better, whoever it is. And that just seems kind of wrong, right? Because we're not actually solving the problem. We're just buying our way out of it.
Yeah, and it's also an effectiveness issue, like, are they effective? But yeah, it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments for Claire?
Just comments, I think it's really good work. So, and I think it's in both cases, the right direction for us. So appreciate it.
Excellent. So should we just move receipt of this then? Move, seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you, that's excellent report.
11.2, section B, it's a little typo.
Perfect.
It should be pursued.
Now that's a committee of the whole, I know, it's lightning.
We haven't talked about this either.
Okay, on to 6 directors' reports, chair's verbal update. One thing I want to mention is Monday, September the 30th is Canada observes Orange Shirt Day. And so there's events going on in all the communities, Lillooet, Pemberton, Worcester, Squamish. So please partake and go and listen. I'm looking forward to the one here in Pemberton because the lady that's presenting here is very interesting and very intelligent person. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So anyways, that's it. So do we have a decision on late business? Nothing. And late business, nothing, obviously. We'll adjourn this meeting and we're going to where? Back to.
Well, we need a motion again?
Do we just?
Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn. Seconded. And then we'll go back to our regular board.
We're just gonna take a recess.